Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my Halloween movie marathon. And this time I'm going over one of the newer films that came out called X, that was directed by Ty West. It was produced and released by A24. Um, I've only seen a handful of A24's films, but I've come to know them as the kind of company that will do that will take risks these days. Like, people are saying that Blumhouse is reviving the horror genre. No, A24 is doing that. Because Blumhouse, all they've done is just put the horror genre on life support. But A24 they'll actually take people's concepts and they'll turn them into these crazy movies, and yet most of the time they still work. I haven't seen Hereditary, but I've heard very good things about it, so I'll have to check it out one day. I had, like I said, I've seen X, and I've seen the prequel movie Pearl. At the time of me recording this, I haven't seen Maxine, but I will have to watch it eventually. And I saw The Green Knight, which wasn't really a horror film. There were some creepy moments about that, but it was okay. I can't remember if I ever did a review of that film or not. But I'll have to look back on it and then post one. But anyway, going back to going back to X, it's sort of like a different approach to the whole slasher genre of Friday 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Halloween, especially Texas Chainsaw. Ooh, sorry. Whereas instead of an entire family of cannibals, the killers are these two really old people, right? And there's a little bit of dark humor in there, but the characters are okay. It follows a group of young adults who want to shoot a porno, and while they end up shooting it in this guest house of this old couple in Texas, and from there, the old woman gets aroused, but well, because they're old, they're kind of unable to do the deed, so the old woman takes her frustrations out on the young adults, and eventually her husband joins in. That's basically the entire film. The characters themselves are okay. The only one who I really can't remember at all was Mia Goth, and that's because she plays both Maxine and Pearl. And I don't know how long it took. Mia Goth to get all that makeup on her to look like she was in her 80s or 90s, but kudos to that for basically playing dual roles. The other characters are okay. I mean, they're just the run-of-the-mill unlikable assholes. Except for Jenna Ortega's character, where she was really being teed up as being the final girl, and then this is where the dark humor comes in. She just runs out of the house after Mia helps her escape, and then just out of nowhere she gets shot, pretty much right after she steps outside, and that just made me laugh my head off. Just because of how twisted and darkly humorous that whole scene was. The lighting is great, especially during this one kill scene where where the old woman Pearl, she stabs the cameraman, I think. And blood gets on the car's headlights. So like it just paints the scene in like this eerie like crimson glow, which just looks amazing. The music and sound is all right. Like this movie was genuinely creepy at some times, and it did have some jump scares. Like there's this one moment where the blonde bombshell falls into a lake, and then just out of nowhere, an alligator just shows up and eats her. I did mention this in my review of Pearl, where a lot of the things that that happen. Sorry, a lot of things that are mentioned by Pearl or her husband Howard. That kind of stuff is given like a backstory in X, like immediately after Pearl pushes the blonde into the lake and she gets eaten by the alligator. She tells Howard like, "Well, you know, I don't like blondes," and that's explained during the final act of X, where Pearl is shafted for this dancing part because the judge said that they're looking for a blonde girl, and well, Mia Goth isn't blonde. So all that was really cool. Going back to the dark humor specifically, like those moments where like Jenna Ortega gets shot, like I probably shouldn't have laughed at it, but I did. And then like there's that scene at the end where Howard gets a heart attack because turns out Jenna Ortega is still alive and she takes like one last gasp of fresh air. And then she dies. Howard gets a heart attack. He dies, and Pearl is pleading to Maxine to help him right after he just tried to kill her. So Maxine starts to leave, and Pearl picks up this shotgun herself, fires it, and the explosion sends her flying. Like, if you guys remember in the movie Django Unchained, that scene where Django shoots Calvin Candy's sister, and he shoots her from the side, but her body goes flying backwards. It's kind of like that with how comical she falls out of the house and breaks her hip. But then this film was I just loved everything about this film, except for that scene where the old couple end up having sex, and like the bed they're on is the same bed that Maxine is hiding under, so she has to hear it. And I'm pretty sure that was the director's that was the director's point on trying to gross people out or make people feel uncomfortable by having like an old couple like doing it. And well, it worked. I mean, I wasn't a fan of it. And then the other thing that kind of bugged me a little bit was the fact that like Jenna Ortega didn't survive, and that's because like they were teeing her up to be the final girl basically for the entire film. Like she was the one who she was like the stereotypical girl who like abstained from sex, even though later on in the film like she does end up wanting to be included in the porno film. But she was kind of teed up to be the final girl in the film, and I get what they were going for, like to pull the rug out from under everybody, but I still kind of wish that she was the final girl in this movie, but oh well. But having said all that, I did like this movie, and I did like it enough to see Pearl in theaters. And whenever whenever I get around to seeing Maxine, I am going to see it. Which, again, at the time of me recording this, because like, I'm pretty sure by the time that this review drops, I'm pretty sure that the movie will probably already be out. So that's it for this review. The movie's sounding pretty good. I don't see it being like an instant classic, because I'm pretty sure that a lot of people, like even from the A24 lineup, like people would rather see like Hereditary or Midsummer, uh, or like that Nick Cage movie that came out last year, Dream Scenario. But for what it's worth, this is a pretty good like sort of reinvention of the slasher genre, and specifically Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So this movie's always gonna have a soft spot for me, uh, and the only thing I regret is that I didn't see it in theater when it came out. But that's it for this review. I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Bye.